Just before Christmas. It's exciting, and I see you look like...
Yes, like Santa.
And I look like a fool.
One of my elves.
That's
it. Tall elves.
And
I see we have a small elf behind us sweeping up. Who's this?
We do. Well, actually, we talked about it before. I have 6 kids. This happens to be my middle daughter, Elaine.
You have 6
Six kids, that's right. And 1 grandchild, but you have 2 and 1 grandchild,
that's right.
So we're kind of even. But she came just to see the show tonight. So, Elaine, thanks for coming. I'm glad you could be here. Why don't you go have a seat and you can watch the show. We have a lot to do today, so I'm really excited.
Right.
And notwithstanding, we have these great Festool jigsaws. We have both of them, the barrel and the D handle.
Yes, we do.
And why don't we get going, because we've got a lot to do.
Oh, let's first talk about, actually we got a couple of announcements. Regarding the Festool, we have good news for our Festool customers. Starting January 1, 2007, we will no longer be collecting sales tax on Festool tools when you order from us. It will be up to you, and I'm sure you will turn them into your state at the end of the year. You'll claim them.
I would.
Absolutely. So that's the good news. January 1. So if you want to place any orders with us, we can take the orders. We can hold them till January 1 if you'd like, and we'll just go ahead and run them through on January 1. So that's good news on Festool. Now, if you remember, last week we talked about finishing, and we have a couple of questions that came up during the week. The first question we have is Ted from New Bern, North Carolina asks, which method would you recommend for bringing a light color to a gloss finish? Remember we talked about the Trizac and we had Danny's.
Personally, once you talk about light colors, I don't think it matters as much. We really saw how Danny's system, when you're doing a dark color, did make a substantial difference. Although the Quick Shine, which we also sell, seemed to kind of mitigate it and make the two look very much the same. But as far as the light color goes, I'm not sure that it would make much difference at all.
Can you really bring a light color up to a high gloss?
Oh, certainly, because remember, a high gloss is a more uniform reflection of light.
Okay.
That's what creates the sheen.
And remember, too, one thing that you've got to remember from the show last week, if you saw it, is we had 2 different sheens, but if they weren't shown side by side, you or your customer probably wouldn't have known the difference. So keep that in mind when you take a light color to the customer and they see that sheen, they're not comparing it to something right next to it that is absolutely crystal clear.
And the other thing to always bear in mind is a gloss finish is always very high maintenance.
That's correct. Yeah, we don't recommend it for countertops anyway, but a lot of people insist on it. Next question is from Ray from Birmingham, Alabama. He asks, can the Trizac be used dry?
Boy, I think it's always better to use some sort of a lubricant.
I've never seen it used dry. So.
No, and water is most commonly the lubricant used for it.
With a little bit of soap. You can put just a dab of soap in there for a lubricant.
Yep,
okay.
That's true. Matter of fact, I know a lot of shops that use Trizac will actually just store the paper just in a gallon milk jug. Just cut away a part of it and throw your discs in there and just store them in water. It doesn't hurt them.
Okay. Last question we have tonight is from Jerry in Bethesda, Maryland. He asked, if you were to pick one surface leveler, which one would you recommend?
I think there's a lot that goes to that. If I were only using it in my shop, I think I would pick an air tool, because an air tool requires minimal maintenance. And if you do take care of it, if you keep it oiled and you keep a water separator on your system, an air tool will virtually last forever. Lasts longer than what you and I have to worry about.
But you're not going to be able to take it in the field. So if you want something that's going to go from the shop to the field and you're only choosing one, then I would pick the electric one.
I agree
with the
with
Bosch motor on it.
And also the electric one does have more uses than just a seam leveler too. We showed everybody last week that one of the real benefits to the electric model is that it will also clean up the extra glue when you're doing a coved splash.
That's correct. So you kind of get a little bit more out of the tool than
more applications out of it.
Okay.
Certainly.
All right. Tonight we're going to show you the Festool jigsaws. And I'm going to show you the barrel grip one first. Now, we talked a little bit about this last week in our out-of-the-box segment. And the Festool is, this is their barrel grip model. It's got some neat features on it. It's got the quick disconnect cord on the back. And I'll leave that off while I'm talking about the rest. We've got the quick release on the blade. Comes right out. Goes back in. One thing that's unique to the Festool is it has a lower guard. It's a guide for the blade, and it kind of captures it a lot like a bandsaw. And if you're familiar with the way a blade works, if a blade twists, it will also bend on an arc. If it can't twist, it won't arc. This also has I don't know, it's an aggressive cut mode. From
it's for a stroke. It allows it just straight up and down to where it's sweeping forward.
Right, and it's variable speed. This one's nice and comfortable. This one is set up with dust collection on it, and I'm trying to put that cord in the back. There it goes. And let me just put my glasses on here real quick. Now, we're going to show how this is an aggressive cut with an aggressive blade. We're going to cut through this beam, and I think it probably cuts better than any saw out there, although I'm sure there'll be somebody that will challenge it. But we'll show how this works. Now, if you take your time, you're going to get a nice cut out of it. And I'm not using a chip guard on this either, but I am using dust collection. Now, I don't know if you can see that or not, but you got a nice parallel cut. And that's difficult for a lot of saws to do in that thickness of material. Now, this is just a softwood, but we've cut mahogany, it shows, as well. Okay, so that I just wanted to show the scrolling
feature. Exactly
feature.
how thick was this piece of wood, do we know?
You know, probably about 3 inches. Okay, 3 inches, close enough. There's a tape measure right there you can actually read behind you.
And the one thing that's always impressed me about these, the Festool jigsaw, that's 3 inches, is that its inner and exit stay very uniform.
Right.
So, and you had pointed out earlier, and especially on a blade that's that long, once again, that's a blade that's stroking clean through a 3-inch thick piece of wood.
Right.
Is, even though you scrolled through it, you made a serpentine cut, the blade in no way rolled.
Right.
And we've done the same thing. I know I've done it at shows with hard maple, which is notorious for causing a blade to twist.
Absolutely.
We've done it with mahogany. So we've done it with quite a few different species of wood, and it manages to make a great cut every time.
Okay. What are you going to show us?
I want to show there's this great attachment. I have here the D handle.
Are you going to use dust collection?
No, I'm not, because I'm going to use an attachment here, and I want to make sure everybody sees it. This is the D handle, essentially the same thing as the barrel and feature, except it does have the extra handle here, trigger lock. It has the adjustable stroke, so you can cut everything from a slow, clean, just straight up and down to a very aggressive vertical cut. And it has the same feature. Not only does it hold the blade captive where it locks in, but it also...
Sorry about that.
There we go. It also holds it right down here at the very base. The idea, once again, is that's what prevents the blade from rolling. What I'm going to show you is I've got a simple little piece, which I can pop on here in just seconds. What this allows us to do is to make a radius cut. This goes on very easily. Slides on like that. And then we'll just lightly set these only to where we can get our radius set. We already have this preset. We had a drill right here. And my screw went where? Well, my screw disappeared from last night's practice time.
All right. Well, how about if I go get you one?
Okay, John will go get me a screw.
How about you stall for a minute, Ken?
I will stall for just a moment. But what we'll do is we'll go ahead. There's actually 4 different pivot points you can establish. To make a good arc, you really want to select the one that's even with the front of the blade, which is the one I'm going to use right here. That hole, as you can see, this hole right here is roughly right in line with the blade. So we'll take, first of all, we'll get this lined up. There's the center point there. I'll loosen these tabs. Slide my, if you want to go ahead, John, and pop that in right there. There you go. That's good. Right there. That's just enough to let it swing. All right, then we'll just go ahead. We'll bring this over. We can just tighten these.
You know what? I hate to point out a little flaw here.
Sure.
But you've got this on upside down.
Okay, well that makes it easier.
Okay, so this is live TV, guys, live internet.
But
this
see,
has to slide out.
That's right.
And this goes on the other way, so it holds it parallel.
Okay, and just slide that right in. See how easy it is to turn this around?
Because I'm sure that someone will do this and realize that they also have it upside down.
I think this is, there we go. Okay,
right,
again,
let me go ahead and put the screw in here. This is a two-man job, by the way.
Only in our neighborhood.
Come out a little bit more.
Go ahead and take it.
You know, my battery's dead.
Okay.
That's not good.
Well, and then once again, I'll bring my blade right up to it. I can tighten my two screws, and we should be in well enough to make our cut.
Nice job.
Doing a beautiful job, actually.
Without the dust collection, you really notice it. Now let's see how close you were to center. Oh, not very close, Ken.
No, not very close at all.
Not very close.
But that way we assured we got a complete radius.
There you go.
But what I want to show everybody, and let's slide this out real quick. Okay.
Yeah, that's the pattern you wanted right there, wasn't it? Just to come out like that.
That's it. But as you can see, other than the fact we screwed up on that, somehow we messed up, we had a nice clean cut, and the board has got a nice radius. But something I really want everybody to see, and I have to set this up on edge, and of course doing this only helps us get set up for our next thing anyway.
Here, let me help you step this in the clamp here.
But what I want you to notice, I started away from the board, but look how uniformly that rolled right into the cut. Right here, that's what's important to see.
Now, had you calculated a little bit better, it would have come out and been fine.
It would have exited just like it went in, because it's actually a little bit easier to go out of the cut. It's getting into the cut that's hard, because going into the cut is where you tend to start to twist the blade away.
Right.
And this went in beautifully. Kept a nice radius.
Why don't you go ahead and make this cut, and then that'll get us ready for the next segment.
Okay.
And then I'm going to get set up here with just a small piece of laminated board.
I'm having fun.
Now, this isn't a real good arc, but we'll be able to show you after the next segment on how we're going to plane that out with the Veritex planer. Very good. All right.
That was fun. Can I cut something else?
No, but you can slide that out of the way so I can cut this laminated board. One thing I did want to make sure that I got a chance to show the viewers is I used to do a lot of laminate work, and...
Can you release my board?
Yes, I can. Release me. There you go.
Oh, there we go.
Slide it down. You going to take it right out? Okay. All right. When you're doing laminate work, we would always get to a situation where we had to put a sink in, and it seemed like every time we put a sink in, it was near impossible to make a sink cutout and then enlarge that cutout just a little bit. And that's one thing I noticed that was really nice about the Festool unit. And let me just get cord here. Again, I'm going to use the barrel grip saw. And this time what I've done, I've got a blade that has a lot more teeth in it, so it's going to give us a little bit smoother cut. And then also I've inserted what's called a splinter guard. And this is a little piece of plastic that slides back and forth. And simply, you just take it like that, knock it on the edge of your board, so you're making a cut right into it. So that's going to give you a splinter guard on top. So I'm just going to cut a little bit on this board. Okay, now look at how clean that is in plastic laminate on both sides.
Everybody's got to see that, because I've cut a lot of laminate tops over the year installing them. Now, this is plain high pressure laminate.
Right.
But if you'll notice on the edge, and you can see it here on both sides, there's not one bit of chip out there. So now, for an installer that does laminate work, especially sink cutouts.
Right. I mean, that's good enough that you could almost, if you screwed up on a job and had to cut something off and re-edge band this, that would almost work. But what I wanted to point out that I think is really cool about this, if I had to enlarge this just a little bit, say a half a cut, almost every saw that I've ever used, and I'm sure you guys have had the same thing happen, the blade veers out away from the work. And what I want to show you, can we get a close-up on this one, Dave, right here? Is this clamp in the way? Okay, let me just pull that off.
I'll hold this.
Because I want you to see, I think this is really kind of neat. You can actually just take a partial cut off of it. And enlarge that. And let me just turn this around. It's a little bit hard, but as you can see right here, this is absolutely perfectly straight up and down. There's no chipping. I've been able to go into the work and come out and enlarge that just a little bit. And, you know, for those of you that haven't done that, you're thinking, oh, what a big deal. It makes no difference. But believe me, when you're using a lousy jigsaw and it goes out halfway, you end up breaking a blade, bending a blade, not being able to finish the job.
And the other thing that's important is this is, as everybody can see, this is an upcut blade. Right. So you weren't using a typical downstroke cut.
No special blade required.
Exactly. This is upstroke. And so to make a cut that clean with an upstroke blade, no tape, nothing. Right. Just crystal clear. You can't beat that. Just absolutely phenomenal. First time I saw it, it just impressed me. Now, as far as I know, this is the only jigsaw on the market like that.
As far as I know, you're right. That's my understanding.
Yeah, so anybody that does work, especially laminate work, same thing applies to solid surface, although you have to be concerned about leaving the scoring line in the sidewall of the material. At least you're not worried about pulling chips out if you're using the chip guard. Okay.
Now, in solid surface, a lot of guys do use jigsaws, but you got to stay well away from your cut because it actually can cause horizontal fractures, correct?
Correct, yeah. It causes what's called a stress riser. Also, one other thing really quickly, and I know we're racing before the break, this can also be used with the straight edges.
That's right, and actually we have the attachment for that, and I can't find it. I have to apologize, but you can set this up with the Festool straight edge. There's a little plate that snaps on here and rides on the straight edge and allow you cut perfectly straight with that as well. And maybe what we'll do is when I find it in all our stuff, one show, we'll just pull it out really quick and just, you know, let you see it.
Excellent, excellent. Well, once again, the blade tilts without any problem, so you can cut any angle, dust collection. You can adjust it for a very smooth or a fine or an aggressive cut. Great tool.
Okay. After the break, we'll be talking about planers and joiners, joiner planers.
That's right.
It does both.
Just before Christmas, it's exciting, and I see you look like...
Yes, like Santa.
And I look like a fool.
One of my elves. You should be in great shape, and we'll see you right after the break. Thanks.